There is so much to say about this game, but at the same time, there really isn't. If you can get the basics right, you will really do well in this game. You really would benefit from breaking it down, making it simple, and really practice the simple things, the basics. In the previous video we talked about to choose to be neutral, and that there is nothing that you really would benefit from not being neutral about. You really should be neutral about everything. That will benefit you the most. And taking that practice seriously is the only thing that is going to give you that type of result. I'm going to start this video off with talking about a technique, a mindset that is going to make that easier for you. When you hear what I have to say, you might be able to see it clearer. So imagine a video game, a handheld console where you have buttons on each side of the screen. And on the screen you have a game, and it could be whatever type of game. Let's say, for example, a game where something needs to be held in balance, and you're going to use your buttons to affect this thing and keep it in balance. And of course, if you don't play it right, you will lose. But the funny thing about this game is that it is only when you choose not to play that you will win the game. And it might seem like you have to play in the beginning, because you can see how you're affecting this thing that are going to be in balance. But it is when you let go of the buttons, when you stop playing, that the game wins itself. When you stop trying things, stop forcing it or panicking, when you can just let it be. And you might have been used to trying to play the game. It's a game of life after all. Of course it should be played, but what does that really mean, to play? Trying to force things around in your mind, trying to push things into balance. But you see, if you can just let everything be, if you can be neutral about it, if you can choose to not react, rather just be a neutral observant, let things be the way they are, then you will win. But you might need to practice. It might be very natural within a 1 hour time frame to step in and try to control things. But that can be detrimental. It can make you very good at trying to control things. It will create a lot of clutter for you. So choose to be neutral, choose to not engage, choose to accept everything the way it is, and just be neutral. Focus on yourself, focus on being happy. Rule number 1 is always going to be happy now. There is no happy later when you have accomplished neutrality or when you have accomplished anything really. It starts with happy now. And really understand, try to understand to the best of your ability what that really means. Of course it means to be in the moment, to just be neutral. Here and now, enjoy yourself. And I really want to keep it simple on this channel. There is so much to learn in this game. If you are so fortunate that you are someone who wants to learn, if you want to grow, if you have something that you want to accomplish, you know there is always more. But rule number 1 is happy now. Keep it simple. Really keep it simple. Of course you have taken care of forgiveness. You know, that just has to be done. You have to forgive, or else you're not even able to be in the moment. But all things together, there really aren't that many jobs to do in this game. Sure, when you have achieved great neutrality, you can take it to the next level. But essentially you're just going to recognize the truth about who you are, master silence, let go of unforgiveness, let go of sin and karma, be neutral about all things. Master your avatar, master your game. And I'm now going to talk about your avatar and how to master it. And yes, of course, you do that by being neutral, learn to think positively, learn to not panic. But to really master panic, or really any of the emotions, we need to master the avatar. I'm going to talk a little bit about some ideas that can make it easier for you to understand what to do when it comes to the avatar, so that you can truly experience power. You need to bear with me for a minute, but this is going to make sense. Imagine having taken an overdose on drugs, let's say heroin for example, and your avatar has become so calm that it has become very dangerous. You probably know that you can take this anti-drug called Narcan, and I can imagine it works somewhat the same as smelling salts, for example. It's going to instantly revive your avatar and get you back to reality in the same way that a powerlifter would use smelling salts to get more into their physical body so they're able to do a heavy lift. You will see there are many things that can distract the avatar in those type of ways, like heroin could. You could, for example, smoke weed or even just CBD, use nicotine, overeat, eat, well, if you mix, for example, bread and milk, that will somewhat create a heroin effect, believe it or not. That's why you feel so good when you eat it. But if you can stay aware of this, the avatar needs to be present. It needs to be high frequency, which you will achieve by forgiving, removing sin and karma, and learning to think positively. But it also needs power, which you will achieve by being present in your physical body. But you don't want to be too present. You can imagine if you took cocaine, for example, and you took too much of it, then suddenly the imbalance where your physical body overtakes your soul self-connection and you become crazy. You want a balance, and you can use your intent to achieve that balance. If you have a good soul self-connection, you can recognize if you are about to overeat, or if you really have smoked enough CBD, or if you need to cut down on the nicotine, if it's too strong, on the caffeine, and so on. But if you were to overdose a little bit, you can use your intent on simply just balance here and now between your source of connection and your physical body. And you know, using your intent like that is obviously also something to master. You can do it wrong in the sense that you are trying to play. Let's say you have figured out what you want and you're trying to force it when you maybe should have rather visualized. You visualize yourself in balance, where the physical body is where it needs to be, and where your source of connection is where it needs to be. And that really is the simplest way you can do it. And why not keep it simple? And visualization is, of course, another thing to practice and master. you will see that visualization is really the key to everything. If you can visualize it, which of course is different than imagining, then you can really take yourself into that frequency here and now and experience it. Imagination is rather when you fantasize. Visualization is where you experience it now. And we can of course understand how that is essential. To experience it now, not dream about it too much. Why would you do that? If it is something you want so much, then you just experience it now. But yeah, we have a short little list here now of things that are kinda essential, at least very beneficial to master in this game. And we could have made the list longer, but you will soon see that those things are not key. And yeah, again, I will try to keep it as simple as I can. Obviously, we're talking about game of life. It is a pretty big game, but I suggest you take notes. Personally, I've taken a lot of notes in my game, tens of notebooks, and you would probably benefit from doing the same. So I have gotten an email asking if I could elaborate a little bit on the shadows, connections, issues that feel like they are further in the mind. And I believe what they mean is if you have the sensation that this issue exists further in your essence. So you could imagine that what they would be experiencing in those type of scenarios are that the issue is more ingrained in you. It is more in your core. You have to understand that your absolute core is always source. And at some times you might have a really good source self connection, and sometimes you could have a poorer source self connection. If you have the experience of an issue being very ingrained in your core, what I would do is to remember that your core is always source, and then you visualize. You visualize your source self connection expanding beyond the point of where this issue exists, and then you let it clean. You let your source self connection, your source energy, clean this shadow that exists so ingrained in you. And then you practice, but you choose to experience it here and now. You choose to be neutral, and you really master staying in focus, where the focus is 100% on the visualization. That's how you would really benefit from doing all type of visualizations. Essentially, you can right now visualize the thing you want, but at the same time keep in your mind this thing that you are experiencing. So let's say you are experiencing this shadow, you want to rather experience the neutrality, and if you can completely keep all of your energies, all of your focus, all of your presence on the visualization here and now, then things will change right away. And you can definitely take a note of visualization right now. It is really something to master. It really depends on you knowing what you want. And I'm not only talking in the bigger picture, you being in 9/11, in neutrality, here and now, with ultimate clarity about who you are and how the game works, but in the smaller situations in life also. If you can visualize it, meaning if you can experience it here and now, then you can have it. And I'm not going to talk for you, but I know personally from my journey how throughout a day, there can be so many small little things going on in the mind. There can be so much regrouping to do because of all these things. My attention has been on many things throughout the day, and there is a lot to cut and retrieve and neutralize. But it always starts with visualization. And you should take note of this. If you need to regroup yourself, you do that by knowing what it is that you want. You can't be split where you somewhat energize this chaos you have going on, while you at the same time are trying to visualize and feel as if things are in neutrality, clean, here and now. You really should make a decision. But you really should get it. You really should understand that visualizing here and now in this moment, the thing that you want is the thing that is going to get you the thing that you want. And if you aren't willing to let go of the chaos, then you are somewhat sitting there and visualizing the chaos. Even if you are just experiencing the chaos, you are actually sitting there and visualizing the chaos. What are you visualizing right now? What are you choosing to experience right now? Because you are visualizing right now. You're doing something, and that is what you are experiencing. And if you can recognize if this is really what you want, maybe you have some things in your mind that you would prefer to be neutral about, well, visualize that neutrality here and now. Take note of that. Write it down. Look at it, understand it, get it. Give it, and get it. So yeah, we have now talked about the importance of having a avatar that has, you could say, good chi, you could say balance, you could say presence, or you feel good. And if you can visualize it, you can experience it. But most importantly, just stay aware. How are you feeling right now? Are you in balance? Are you in power? And if you recognize that you aren't, then move on. Visualize yourself being in power, whole and complete, neutral, happy, joyful, here and now. And if you think you have taken a little bit too much drugs, then override it with your intent. You shouldn't have to wait 4 hours before you're back in your power. Why would you think that? Just neutralize it, clean it, intent on here and now, whole and complete, in your power. Visualize it, experience it now. Essentially, your intent is on highest frequency. Simply being yourself, being outside of the matrix, here and now, happy, neutral. And you might have experienced what it's like when a shadow is lifting and how it's affecting everything. The world outside your window, when the clouds are literally moving away and the sun is coming through. And that sensation, that experience of being in that type of freedom, where you finally have gotten released from the thing that you were experiencing, and now you are in a place of freedom. Well, you get what I'm saying, I hope. You can really live like that. And you can take note of that also. Life can be great like that. And you might encounter some shadows, and it gets a little dark again. But what I'm saying is that you know when you are free. Yeah, it lights up like that outside. It's a totally different light outside when you're free. Everything is, of course, totally different, even in your darkest hours on the highest frequency with the right type of mindset, you're still enjoying yourself. Things are still amazing. I'm not saying that things are going to always have that sensation of beauty, where you're in awe, where you're just amazed of how everything is just so amazing. It's just such an amazing game. I mean, it's kind of like getting a new car. You get used to it. But it is like that. That's your base level. Things are great. You are always in joy. Even if you're laying there for 4 hours at night and can't sleep, you're still enjoying yourself. It's a great experience. You would never throw a fit about it. And of course that is thanks to a good source of connection, a high frequency, but it really just is choosing to be happy. And having become so good at it, become so used to it, and it has really clicked, where you understand that you do have a choice, but what value do you really have in throwing a fit? Let's say hypothetically, you've been laying there for 4 hours, couldn't sleep. What can you do about it? Of course, use your intent, visualize, and so on, but let's say that you just couldn't. Well, should you throw a fit? Or should you just be happy? Should you enjoy yourself? And I'm just saying that your entire day and your entire rest of your experience can truly be an enjoyable experience, where there is no other experience than joy, no matter what type of experience it is. If your car tire has exploded, it's still an experience. You're standing there next to the road trying to get help. It's a good experience. Everything from your past, whatever it should be, you have worked through it, you have a good attitude about it, you see it for what it is, it's an experience. And you have chosen to be happy about it. But yeah, anyway, why would you do that? Why would you choose to be so happy about things? Well, we have mentioned that there is actually quite a few more jobs than just those two that I mentioned in the previous video. Show forgiveness, a good attitude, choose to be happy and neutral, choose to be someone who is good at doing shadow work and getting yourself back to wholeness and completeness here in the moment. But you could make a list of these things now, and you could sit down and practice them. But that's not really the point. If you choose to be here and now, you will get the feedback here and now of what you are experiencing. Of course, your intent and your visualization is on being happy here and now. And if there should turn out to be some things that are hindering you in having that experience, then you are self-aware enough to recognize what it is. Are you sad about something? Is that it? Do you feel angry at someone? Or then you haven't forgiven? Do you feel stressed? Do you feel overwhelmed? It all just starts with happy now, and then rather dealing with the things that come to mind in the best possible way so that you can overcome it, so that you can be happy here and now. And when you do that, you're going to get results. You're going to get very good at it. And you will see that at some point, you're happy all the time. You're joyful all the time. And you can deal with anything. And there is not a fear in the world. Enjoy the journey. Enjoy it. If you benefited from this video, kindly consider becoming a supporter. Abundant thanks for your support, Abundance, health, and prosperity to you. Thank you so much.